Did you know that we have pulled millions of barrels of oil out? Nobody knows that. Do you know who doesn't know that? Iran, up until now. The other night, we took out 22 ships late at night with no lights.
Panic is starting in the Strait of Hormuz after Donald Trump revealed this Thursday, June 11, 2026, that the United States carried out a secret operation to escort commercial ships and oil tankers through one of the most sensitive passages on the planet. His statement hit like a bomb because Trump said that more than 100 million barrels of oil and over 200 ships passed through the strait with military support. American, while Iran was still trying to sell the image that it controlled the route. He also said that in one of the operations, 22 ships passed through during the night with their lights off after Iranian radars were hit. That's when the crisis takes on a new weight. The Department of Energy admitted part of the movement through the strait because, in fact, Iran panicked. And how did this secret operation turn into brutal military pressure against the dictatorship? I'll tell you all about it in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward and no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because here we have videos like this every day. Trump made the Strait of Hormuz central to the standoff with Iran. According to Reuters, he said on June 10 that the United States would strike Iran with great force if there was no peace agreement. And he stated that American military escorted ships carrying more than 100 million barrels of oil out. Trump himself linked this operation to the price of oil, saying that the action helped keep the barrel in the range of $85 to $90 instead of jumping to $250. The most explosive statement came when Trump described the operation involving the 22 ships during the night. He said that the ships passed without lights because the Iranian radars had been hit. ABC News reported that Trump spoke of millions of barrels crossing the strait and later posted on his social network that more than 100 million barrels and more than 200 commercial ships passed through the route. The United States Central Command also confirmed that there were attacks against Iranian structures near the Strait of Hormuz. In an official statement, CENTCOM said that on June 9th, American forces carried out self-defense strikes against Iranian air defenses, ground control stations, and surveillance radars. After the downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter, this confirmation supports the military aspect of the story. Trump was not just talking about oil. Washington had attacked structures that allowed Iran to monitor and pressure regional navigation. With radar, air defense, and ground control hit, the American operation took on the appearance of a message. Iran may threaten, but it does not control on its own the passage through which the world needs oil to flow. Diplomacy was included in the same package of pressure. Axios reported that mediators from Qatar were trying to restart negotiations between the United States and Iran, including Qatari diplomats in Tehran. At the same time, Trump said that Iran was taking too long to respond to a proposal and that he did not rule out new attacks. Qatar appears as a behind-the-scenes player because it is trying to save a negotiation while the military situation heats up. That's where Iran gets squeezed. If they accept the deal, it appears they're backing down after Trump exposed the operation and complained. If they reject it, it invites more military and economic pressure. The draft mentioned by regional sources still depended on political approval, but the existence of talks already showed that Tehran was not negotiating out of comfort, but out of necessity. The market understood the size of the risk because global inventories were already under pressure. Reuters reported, based on the United States Energy Information Administration, that oil inventories in the largest economies were heading toward their lowest level since 2003. The American agency projected a drop to just under 2.3 billion barrels by December, amid losses caused by the war in Iran and the difficulty of normalizing traffic in Hormuz. The same assessment said that the reduction in inventories creates a basis for higher prices. This is the point that explains Trump's urgency. The secret operation was not just a military maneuver. It was an attempt to prevent Iran from turning oil into a weapon against families, businesses, transportation, and inflation. The White House also tapped into the strategic reserves to ease the squeeze. Reuters reported that the Department of Energy offered a loan of up to 40 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to energy companies. as part of a larger release agreement of 172 million barrels. By that time, about 133 million barrels had already been loaned. The measure was part of a coordinated effort with about 30 members of the International Energy Agency, who had agreed to release approximately 400 million barrels from global reserves. After the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran began on February 28. In other words, Trump was operating on two fronts, opening Hormuz with military force and stabilizing the market with reserve oil. The comparison with Venezuela came up in the conversation because the United States had already used oil as leverage. In the Venezuelan case, the Trump administration planned to refine and sell up to 50 million barrels of oil held under sanctions, while also seeking to redirect supplies that were previously destined for that market. This experience helps explain why the case of Iran scared markets and adversaries. If the United States is able to seize, redirect, escort, or condition oil flows, the war ceases to be merely military and becomes logistical. Whoever controls the route controls part of the price. Whoever controls the price reduces the enemy's power to blackmail. And whoever reduces the enemy's blackmail comes to the negotiating table with more strength. Iran tried to react with missiles, speeches, and missile threats. But Trump's revelation put Tehran in a difficult situation. The operation in Hormuz showed that the United States was willing to act before announcing, to pave the way before negotiating, and to reveal the fact only when the advantage was already established. Even with doubts about the exact numbers, the core of the news does not disappear. There was American military support for the flow of oil. There was an attack on Iranian structures near the strait. There was an attempt to hold the price of the barrel. And there was an immediate reaction from opponents in Washington because the issue involves war, inflation, and the 2026 legislative election. The crisis remains open on three fronts at the same time. At sea, ships are still searching for safe routes in Hormuz. On the military front, the United States and Iran continue to exchange shows of strength. In diplomacy, Qatar is trying to keep alive a negotiation that could force Tehran to give in, especially after Trump exposed the secret operation that broke through Iran's pressure on oil. I'm Milson Alves, Global, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.